You are now listening to Bull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Bull Hook Golf, the podcast. This is episode number 54. I'm your host, Matt Cook. We've got Bobby Brown here as our co-host. And man, Bobby, it's another week. So go ahead.
I bit my lip. Didn't have to work Saturday.
There was not a Saturday work day for
got
Bobby.
a Saturday off.
He got a weekend off. He's had a lot of weekends off, but he's also had to work some Saturdays. We're going to need those TPS reports, okay, Bobby?
All right,
now, the week in review obviously is going to be a big topic here today. We've also got the Valspar Championship recap. We've got the upcoming World Golf Championships-Dell Technology Match Play event in Austin. Bobby's home this week, so we're going to do a deep dive into the analysis and everything going on there. We've also, because it is a WGC event, we have the upcoming Corrales Punta Cana Championship, which if you've ever been out to Punta Cana, it's a great place. You know, Teeth of the Dog is out there and a couple other good golf courses. But we've also are going to be talking a little bit about a golf league concept because LIV Golf Tucson, we're going to recap that at the very end. But it just seems like things aren't exactly clicking on all cylinders. So we've got some thoughts around it, or should I say I've got some thoughts around it, and I want to get some of Bobby's take on it and have a little back and forth there. But without further ado, folks, story time with Matt and Bobby. Bobby, I already know what your week was like, but why don't you share?
Why don't you go first?
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah, you go first this time. I got to change my luck, man.
I got to. Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear the same fucking shit from me the last 7 episodes in a row. So you fire away with some happiness. Bring the happiness.
Well, here's the great thing. It's almost like a scramble partner when all of a sudden, you know, you got the one guy that's always the closer, the last guy to hit, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck, we've made 3 pars in a row in this scramble tournament. We need to switch things up. That's what we're doing right now. We're going to switch it up. I'm going to go first. So,
let me say, you hit this putt first this time, Matt.
Yeah, so I'm going to hit the putt first.
Yeah, you hit the putt first this time.
I've been missing a lot of putts. No. So first of all, man, you almost got me stumbling here because we've got our little rhythm and everything. This is good. You got me on my toes.
Keeping you going, kid.
Yeah, the in-laws were in town, so obviously, if you've been listening to the podcast, I got married, went on a honeymoon. In-laws stayed, so they stayed throughout. They actually watched our dog Happy, who is named after Happy Gilmore, and we also have a fish named Gilmore.
Right.
So that kind of wraps up the family, but they stayed out here, and guess what? Friday afternoon came around, and that's normally when I go out and play some golf with the lads at the Shads. So Mountain Shadows, it's the 5th major out there every Friday.
That for everybody. 5th major.
5th major. And so they came out, and they had met the lads at the Shads at the wedding, and sure enough, they wanted to see us in action. And boy, did we not disappoint. We even had an accident out there, Bobby. So
like a cart accident, a golf cart accident.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Golf carts.
It was only 3 holes in, so there wasn't that anybody was wasted or anything like that. But it was a common golf mistake because actually, I should say it was an uncommon golf mistake. So the in-laws were in a cart right behind me. The lads and the Shads were a cart behind them and another cart behind them. Well, it's a par 3 course, so normally you're going to drive all the way up to the green. Well, I decided, you know, there's a golf ball. We actually had my father-in-law go ahead and hit on a hole, which he's not a very big golfer, so it was awesome to have him go ahead and hit a shot, but he hit it a little wayward. So I went to drive the cart over in the desert and go pick up the golf ball. Well, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to follow me or continue up the golf hole because they don't golf all that often. Sure enough, the first cart for the lads of the Shads came to a complete stop because they were paying attention. Well, there happened to be one more golfer all the way in the back that wasn't paying attention, and before you know it, all of a sudden, and I'm over on the side, so all of a sudden I hear it. I hear the smack of the golf cart, and then I turn, and out of the corner of my eye, I see one of our guys tumbling down the hill out of his golf cart. So, granted, I'm not going to use any names here, but he picked himself up and he ended up playing some great golf for 22 holes, but he has been on the injured reserve list, Bobby, for the better part since Friday. He has not been able to play any golf. He's a little banged up, might have a broken arm. We don't know.
Might be suspended from the golf course for the
No cart damage. No cart damage. It was bumper to bumper, so it saved the day. That actually reminds me of a jet ski accident I had, which it wasn't me. It was actually, never mind. We're not going to get into that story. That's a longer story. But I had a strong showing coming back. Everybody thought and was asking Alyssa, because Alyssa was out there, my wife, and they're asking her, they're going, wait a second, was Matt playing the entire time in Tulum? Do they even have golf courses in Tulum? So I got all these comments going on. They're like, oh my God, he for sure was playing the entire time. Because I came out firing, Bobby. I birdied the first hole. It was pin position 4, which, if you know me and Pablo, we go back and forth with pin position 4. I really get a great amount of angst when pin position 4 comes up, but I had my revenge, right? I shot a couple under a couple weeks back. Sure enough, I kept that streak alive, and for not picking up a golf club in 2 weeks, I ended up shooting 1 over, and that was through 17 holes. So there's a little caveat here, Bobby.
You know why, don't you?
Why's that? The toad poison?
Toad venom. And you want to know why I'm bringing this up? Check this out. Are you sitting down right now?
Yeah, yeah.
You watch Ted Lasso? Are you a Ted Lasso
fan?
fan?
Yeah, I love Ted Lasso. No, I love Ted Lasso, but I haven't seen the new episode or the new series.
Number 1's out, okay? And Ted doing one of his, I'm not going to let you in on any sneak peeks or anything like that, but Ted tells the bus driver to get the bus ready, that he's taking the team somewhere for a little motivation, right? So this bus driver is an old like hippie dude or something like that. So the bus driver rolls up, takes him, lets him out, and the bus driver walks up, goes, how long are you going to be to Coach Lasso? He goes, I don't know, hour, 2 hours. He goes, okay, no problem, because I'm going to smoke a little toad's venom right now. And Ted Lasso looks at the other coach and he goes, what's he talking about? He goes, don't worry, he'll be perfect when we get back in 2 hours. He'll know everything and have it all figured out. So, boom, you're not alone.
I am not alone. And I will say this, it was a completely different experience, because even when I made some bad bogeys out there, I didn't get mad, Bobby, which is a new one for me. I just kind of, it's the weirdest thing, because that anger isn't there anymore. It's almost like, I need to get better. And that's all that there is to it. I need to practice more. I need to get better. And there's almost like this internal kind of search around that, to where it's like, listen, if I made a bogey there, then I haven't practiced hard enough or enough. And granted, I'm also coming off of not picking up a golf club for 2 weeks, so that could be part of it. But I definitely felt a little bit different out there, and I think the guys would attest to that as well. But the reason why we couldn't play hole number 18 was because we were playing during a wedding block. So the wedding block, they block it off because there's a wedding that goes on just about every Friday and Saturday out there in Mountain Shadows. And sure enough, where is the wedding taking place? Right by the 18th hole. So we couldn't play 18. So I shot 1 over through 17 holes. And I, once again, played pin position 4 pretty well. It's no longer a nemesis to me.
Good for you.
Yeah, that was my week. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Toes down, bro. Chilled you out. You're probably going to go Yahtzee every time you play now.
Since you just mentioned that, there was, all the guys did also say, how quickly can we get to Tulum? Is there a flight tonight? So yeah, there was that as well. But Bobby, we all
the only ones.
I know. We all, well, I told you, I can hook you up with the people and everything. You can get down there. We just got to trick Troy into heading down. But your week, why don't you go ahead and just clue us in here to the mental mindset of Bobby Brown on another
Well,
PGA
good.
Tour
It's
week.
good now because it's good. It's my mental mindset is really good now because as I was sharing with you, I'm home, I'm home this week. And honestly, I started thinking about it, Matt. I'm trying to think how long I've been on the road. And we did not play Torrey Pines. That was in February. We weren't going to play Honda, but I got that last second Sung Jae opportunity to go there where I actually came home I might have been home for 2 days. So I have not been home since, you can just say 1 week or 9 days since January. So it's good to be home. It's on sucky circumstances because I drove a 6.5 hour drive that took about fucking 8 hours to get back with traffic and spring break and everything, getting out of Florida. And that is a long time to sit in a car by yourself if you're a caddy and you wonder how a guy that played so good last year has just missed 7 cuts in a row, and that you try and think back to your memory. Like, I've never been involved in this kind of I almost said ejecto seat. That was a Freudian slip right there. I've never been involved in this situation. I will tell you, in 2014, I think it was, I made the bold move of going from Brendan Steele to Matt Every, and I caught Matt Every in one of those deals too, but at least in the middle of it was a WGC, was a Bridgestone no cut event. So it wasn't like stringing that many in a row. And that time with Matt was frustrating, but he, you could tell he was lost, but he was still fighting it out. He's missing cuts by a shot or two or something like that. And, but this deal right now is fucking, it's tough. And I'll tell everybody out there what I just shared with you earlier. When things are going bad, you dig it out of the dirt, right? It's fucking, you got to dig it out of the dirt. You get out of it what you put into it. So I think that is, something that Troy's probably, I hope I haven't happened to use this line before in previous episodes when we were missing cuts, but hopefully that's something that he's thinking about in this off week in Boise. So I'll just leave that at that. You can figure out what I'm saying right there, but I will take you back early into our week last week, and I'm not going to give out too much information or step on any toes or anything like that, but I solicited somebody's advice on what was happening with Troy, right? Or me, or somebody, we solicited some advice and we got some feedback from somebody that's pretty respectful. And one of the things, what's wrong, what's broken with Troy Merritt, right? What is broken with Troy Merritt? And so his coach, Steve Dalby, who I love to death, has been racking his brain and couldn't seem to come up with something. So this so-called mystery person reached out to me and said, the 2 things this person said to me were things that I kind of already knew that I'd related before. He gets long, when he starts missing fairways, he gets long with his driver, right? That's his tendency. He'll be the first one to tell you that. And I told you back at CJ Cup when we played absolutely horrible at CJ, holy shit, there was a no-cut event. I 8 hours in the car and I forgot CJ Cup. We actually did play the weekend there. Wow, I feel so much better now. Tied for 65th, motherfucker. Oh, wow, what a relief. So, and I noticed on the range, he was getting super closed, right? And he was getting those stuck right shots where he almost got a bit. So we're standing on the range on Tuesday morning. I said to Troy, I said, listen, if blah, 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 if I got some advice or talk to somebody about something like that, would you be willing to listen to what this famous person has to say, right?
Oh, you talked to Butch Harmon.
No, I'm not saying I talked to Butch Harmon. No. Ever since we shelled Claude Harmon and Pat Perez on one of our podcasts, what has been my communication with Butch Harmon? Oh, it's been when I knocked it on, I didn't get to share the fact that I knocked it on the green on 17 at the Players.
Oh my God, you didn't, did you?
No, did I send you the video?
No, you did. So I liked the video. I commented on it. And I was very proud of you. Yeah.
Instagram. So Butch, so if you wonder where Butch's Instagram is on what he is on what Butch is on Instagram, it's Coop 3359 or something like that. COUP. So if you ever see a Coop dive into somebody's, that's Butchie. That's Butch Harmon. But he gave me a little shout out. You still got it, kid, because I played some games with him. But okay, so everybody, I knocked it on 17. I'm like 4 for 16 there now, and I was not nervous this time, and it was fucking awesome. There was a ton of people around, and there were a ton of players standing on the tee, and I was like, I smoked toads venom. I was so calm out there. And I made, for a guy that has no width in his backswing, I can still play golf. I can get it fucking around. I always have been able to get it around.
That was picked straight up. You're right. There was no
Anyways,
wind
I got
there.
off track. What a surprise. So early in the week, so I confront Troy and I say, if this so-and-so says, would you be willing to, digest some of this information? And he goes, oh yeah. And I go, driver swing's getting long. And he's like, yeah, that's the tendency. And I go, and you're closed as fuck. You know what I mean? So he's like, all right. So, and then this person's like, hey, have him, see if you can get him to open up his feet. When I set up square, just kick the left toe in a little bit, swing down his feet line and hit feet line and hit nothing but cuts all during the practice round. I think I talked about this last week. So
did.
the first few holes, yeah, he kind of, I'll just go over it real quick. I'll make it fast.
Yeah, no, you're good.
First few holes,
I'm
he started
talking
at
about
the
the
flag.
cut.
Yeah, the 25 or 30 footer. And then he got into his zone and everything like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope he plays this all week. Because last year when he was playing good, he did hit kind of a baby cut. And now I hear all this draw stuff. And I'm like, wait, it's 2023. I thought everybody was getting away from the fucking draw shit. Those one trick ponies, there's two or three of them that are really good at it. Chris Kirk, and from the other side, B. Harmon, right? Brian Harmon's really good at drawing the ball in. But anyway, so when we're warming up on Thursday, I'm like, oh my God, he's close. I'm on the range stand behind him. And I'm purposely I'm looking down his feet line. So he realizes that I'm looking down his feet line without me saying, why are you so fucking closed right now? And I'm watching these balls start out to the right, but they're not ugly like the players and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, fucking 2 steps forward, 1 step back is what I was thinking to myself. So we went out there and played on Thursday and we didn't play very good, but somehow we scrapped it around in 1 over. But I will tell you, at the start of the round, everybody should know that we teed off on 10 and was fucking pumping, and he fucking made a 15-footer right off the bat. And then, the next par 5 11 is not really hittable, except it wasn't hittable that day. And he stuffed a wedge in there to 4 feet, and he caught an edge and he ran it by 5 feet. So if I'm ever going to critique myself, here's how I'm going to critique myself. The moral of the story, folks, is he missed that 5-footer coming back. He missed the par putt coming fucking back, and then he almost missed the bogey putt. So he just 3-wiggled from fucking 4 feet. Literally fucking 4 feet, Matt. Did I mention it was 4 feet? So anyways, as I was critiquing myself that night, as I always do, I'm like, you know what I should have done when he ran that fucking, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it. But I'm like, he didn't mark it, the one coming back, the par putt. He didn't mark it. He didn't kneel down and read it. Right after it hits an edge, you're not going to really see how it breaks after it hits an edge and goes by the hole, right? Because it's going to have some kind of funky spin. He negated the whole fucking process thing. And all night I was beating myself up because I'm like, when I saw him go to step into that putt, I should have said, slow the fuck down and mark that fucking ball and take a deep breath and let me just come over there and whisper sweet nothings in your ear for an eighth of a second so you could get the fucking bullshit that is running through your fucking body out right now, because he's sensitive right now. It only takes something like that to fucking set him off, and it sets me off too. So anyways, so we get around in 1 over, but it looked like that was start that I've always said, if he gets off to a good start, and the good start was staring him in the face, and he actually drove it pretty good that day. And then we came out on Friday and teed off on 1, which is a par 5, and it was kind of early in the morning and the weather changed. It was pretty chilly, but we drove it in this left bar. It's the easiest par 5 on the golf course. So we drove it in this bunker. It looks like it's under the lip. You get up there, you're like, from 100 yards away, you're like, God, do we got to hit a gap wedge out of this fucking thing and hit a fucking, not that it's bad to hit a 9-iron into a par 5, but it's a par 5 where you can hit 4-iron into in the second shot, right? So
wasted opportunity.
He's a terror. And Troy, I hope you're listening, because this is something you need to practice on. You're a horrible fucking fairway bunker player right now, my man. Horrible. It cost us 3 shots last week. So he fats his fucking 9-iron out into the rough. And the rough was spotty, right? But the rough's not spotty where balls don't end up going all fucking week, and then he plugged it in that front bunker. And the next thing I know, we bogey 1, 2, and 3 on Friday. Moving day. Early moving day for us Friday. We bogey 1, 2, and 3, and we're fucking 4 over already. And we got that text before the round started. They're going to single cut, that famous text is coming out now when they project greens. We're going to single cut the greens, and we watered them appropriately, or however they phrase it, which the conditions you thought the 30 or 40 mile an hour winds were coming in the afternoon. We kind of saw them towards the end of our round, Matt, but it, it was almost that thing where you're like, oh, this is going to put this cut could push to 3 over, or, it's definitely going to be 2 over. It ended up being 1 over because these guys are so good. But we, we were 4 or 5 over all fucking day long. And then all of a sudden we made a nice birdie, and he got back to 3 over, and we're on I'm going to say it's 14, the other easy par 5, right? And he roasted one down the fucking middle, but we still had to hit 3-wood in, and he came out of it, shot right, somehow made par there. Then bounces back and makes like a 25-footer for birdie to get to 2 over, right? And then the scariest tee shot asked Jordan Spieth on the golf course is 16, right? With the water, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Troy was in contention last year and did that on a Saturday and made a double there. And he squeezes it right center, a little too close for comfort, but it's in the fairway. But he's got to hit this, he's got to hit a cut 6 iron kind of around this tree. You know, it's the same shot that we had at Players when we restarted that I was moaning and groaning about when he made the double bogey and hitting the water, and he pulled this thing left and made a double bogey from the middle fairway, and that's fucking it. That's all she wrote. Good night, Irene. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you.
And then we shook hands on the 18th green, and he said, I go, what are your travel plans? No, first thing I said was, what's the weather like in Boise next week? Hint, hint. You know, he goes, oh, it's going to be snowing and cold. And I like went to my phone that night, and I'm like, that lying motherfucker. It's only snowing one day. You can go out and practice. It's mid 50s. And he goes, oh, I'm going to go home. I'm going to try and get out of here tonight so I can go home and get yelled at. And I'm like, oh, you get it too. So there you go. So all you women at home that are married to us guys involved in the job, and I'm just going to say this out of the deepest respect for Lori, because I'm home enjoying my life right now. But what Lori has to do teaching school, waking up at 6 a.m, get 2 kids ready, drop one off at one school, take one to another school with you, pack the lunches, pick them up at aftercare, tutor, soccer practices 3 days a week, cook dinner, wake up, do the same thing 5 days in a fucking row. Work, go home, work, go home, work, go home. What a life. How does she do it? How do they do it? How does Troy's wife do it? I don't understand when we're gone all the time. So props to them. That's a little
kudos
rant
to the
for
ladies, to the real warriors out there.
Yeah, the rant for the rant to the other side. And nobody ever complains when we're gone 4 or 5 weeks when you're making 20 or 30 grand a week as a caddy or something like that, or you know what I mean? But it doesn't take a genius to figure out that $2,000 a week, and thank God I've been staying at places with, you know, that I have connections or family or friends to offset that is good. And how teachers make $44,000 a year and work that hard. Can you tell me why firemen make 40-some thousand dollars their like first year or two? I can't fucking figure that out for the life of me. So my week was short.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean,
I'm happy. Yeah,
it's the perfect segue into the recap of the Valspar.
Well, I covered the bottom half. I covered the bottom half of the leaderboard. Did actually somebody actually win a tournament?
It was, and it was a first timer too. Good old Taylor Moore.
I know. I marched through the door. I told Lori, I go, I'm watching basketball. I'm not watching golf. I couldn't fucking wait 15 minutes and go to the upstairs TV, and I click it on, and I'm like, what's going on up there? So Taylor Moore gets it done. First time winner, kind of a thoroughbred looking motherfucker. Did you see the look in his eyes? I always look at that when first timers try and win. And he looked way more composed than Adam Schenk. Let me tell you something about Adam Schenk. He is a fucking player, right? But he has trouble. He runs through caddies. He beats the shit out of caddies. I told you a story, I think, 17 at Southern Hills in the PGA last year when he was making a move. He was 4 or 5. He was 4 or 5 under something, and made a bad decision on 17 and reamed his caddy a new one. And I was listening with Troy, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I work for you, you know, that you would never pull that kind of shit and scar yourself for the next, you know, hole or whatever. But my point with Adam Schenk is, if you watch Adam Schenk play golf, or you hear him, you watch him warm up on the range or practice, it makes that sound, right? That sound I was saying that Pearson Cootie makes, it makes that sound. It's that down and through ball striker iron swing. But Taylor Moore, I was comparing him to how Adam Schenk was looking and how Jordan Spieth was looking, because Jordan always looks a little bit frazzled to me. One of the greatest players of all time, always looks frazzled to me, especially recently.
Well,
but
ever since 12 at Augusta.
Yeah,
I mean, before that,
yeah.
I mean, he always looked very in control and with a lot of moxie, and you were just like, oh, this kid's going to win everything. And then 12 at Augusta happened, and then something happened to Jordan.
Moxie's a good word to describe how I was interpreting the looks and the feelings and the vibe that Taylor Moore was giving out,
Yeah.
because he looked like the veteran that had been through it before, and he looked calm, cool, and collected. And I know he shot 4 under, and that was a super low score up there, and the rest of those guys that were close to him shot probably 1 under, I think, a handful of them. So I was super impressed with him. But the word's been out, the word's been out on him for a few years. He made it to the second playoff event last year, which is a big deal for a rookie. I'm not exactly sure. I should have done a little more homework to tell you where he finished, but he probably finished somewhere around Troy in the high 50s or the low 60s or something like that. And he is, he's not a big giant guy or anything like that, but he looks the part, if that makes any sense. So when he's practicing, when he's warming up, I've noticed he looks the part. He is a Josh Gregory guy. I rave about Josh Gregory with the short game and that kind of stuff. And Josh Greger's actually full everything, and I think has kind of mentored this kid the last 2 or 3 years. And Daniel mentioned him to me in Napa a couple of years ago. He's like, "Could you play with today, Dad?" And I go, "Oh, we played 9 holes with some guy named Taylor Moore." And he's like, "Taylor Moore's a stud, Dad." And I'm like, "Oh, that's why you're Daniel G, man. You got it all figured out." So he looked good. He clipped Schenk, and Schenk had a bad break out there.
Dude, Schenk, that
I felt
18th hole
bad.
was a mess.
I felt bad for, I felt bad for him, just that ball ending up there. I mean, I've been over there. We've all been over there a million times, when you pull one over there, but 8 times out of 10, you got something up and over the trees, and he did not have nothing except the left-handed wizard chip out. It's funny. I was listening to him on TV, and they were trying to sell the fact to everybody that if he just advanced it out there 10 or 15 yards, the rough was all trampled down and everything, and he could have a good angle at that flag and that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I think his caddy did a good job at slowing him down, because they talked out through all the scenarios and the possibilities and that kind of stuff. But when you're in those situations, player knows best, right? So you give options and that kind of stuff, and you let them decipher what the shot is that they feel more comfortable with. And I don't think he thought he could get that much club left-handed and squirt it to the rough, which is a terrible angle. It's a tough pin to get out with a wedge, honestly. That shelf up there, Matt, that top shelf is probably only 5.5 yards deep or something, and you can't hit it long. That's auto bogey there, and it's just it kind of sucked. I mean, what sucked even more was I watched Jordan Spieth hit the same drive on 16 on Sunday, that block wipe right 30 yards into the water that Troy had hit it on there Saturday. So I could relate to how he's feeling. But I will tell you what I did notice in that. What I noticed early in the week? Michael Greller was working really hard, Spieth's caddy. He was out there walking during the Pro-Am before they even played the Pro-Am. And Troy's like, "God, Greller's getting after him." I'm like, "Greller's a worker bee." And he is a worker bee. But then I read in the paper the next day that Spieth didn't come in until the Pro-Am, right? And he only was playing 9 holes of a practice. So Mike was probably double walking a certain side. My point was, I was going to bring up this story. So he wipes it on 16, and unfortunately, you need to be prepared as a caddy, because that water is about 90 yards off the tee box, right? And you need to know, the rough is really bad down there. You need to know where point A, point B, point C, and maybe a B asterisk and a C asterisk cover are. Because I've had numerous guys hit it in that water who think they can just fucking hit a 3 or a 4 iron down there and cover all the water, which most of the times, if you have a good lie, you can, but unless you've walked over there a lot, you got to know that there's trees overhanging left about 60 or 70 yards short that can block you on quite a few pins over there. So my point was, did you hear Spieth? Spieth was telling, "Well, I just want to get in the fairway, right? I don't care where I am." So Spieth had experience there. And I was noticing, and I'm not criticizing Greller or anything like that, but he didn't come out with any numerical facts, which I thought you needed in that situation. He ended up popping it back out in the fairway and making that tremendous bogey putt anyways. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he stiffed it on 17 and missed that putt, didn't he? Which is unbelievable. That what a giant ball sack he has for hitting that long iron left of the flag there. Nobody hits that thing left of the flag unless you're Jordan Spieth. But another good showing is going to put him probably in good spirits right now, because he's kind of trending right now, I would think, a little bit. Would you agree?
I do. I mean, heading in the right direction, heading into Augusta National, where Jordan can putt lights out there. So and that's a golf course where you can spray it.
Yeah,
it is an approach shot. I mean,
and the match play this week. He spent a lot of time at Austin Country Club. He played it at UT. Oh, sneaky shout out to Tommy Fleetwood / I got a oil change at Butch Harmon School of Oil, Lube,
Oh
and
yeah.
Filter, because remember, I kind of picked him a couple of weeks ago when I heard that he went in and dived in and saw Butch real quick for a couple of days. And so maybe some of that's showing, possibly showing right now. I got a trender for our gamblers out there. I've been watching this guy for a couple of years now. He's a handful on the golf course. He's a complete freak. He fucking kills it. He's got hands. He does everything great. Wyndham Clark is trending right now, and Wyndham has been trending for probably, I'm going to say 4 or 5 tournaments, and he finished sneaky 5th last week, or yeah, 5th, solo 5th last week. And I think he only got beat a few shots, 3 or 4 shots. But for all of our gamblers out there, Wyndham Clark is kind of might pop his cherry this
I
year.
love that because he trains with the same personal trainer I do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I saw Streelman on the putting green. I saw Streelman on the putting green, and he was like looking at me. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Bob?" And I'm like, "God, I should fucking call him out and see if he knows Matt, because they go to the same gym and everything like that." But I didn't, so don't get excited, man.
I'm not. But we did have a good conversation the one day.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know his story? Oh my God, we got to talk about this at some point.
Wait, okay. Do you want to know my early Kevin Streelman story? Back when I was caddying on the web.com tour, I would, on certain weeks off that time of the year, the web wasn't playing, right? So I would chase Mondays with different players, you know, so back when it was fun, right? Chase Mondays. So I was working, I don't even remember who the Monday I was working for, way back when Streelman even had status, but it was at McCormick Ranch, I can tell you that much. And Streelman got through. Right. And he was carrying his own bag. And I saw him, I knew he got through, he posted the low number, and I saw him go in the bathroom. So I'm like, here's my chance, right? I'm gonna go corner him while he's got his dick in his hand. How can he say no? So I go in there and I'm like, hey, I'm so-and-so, you know, I've got lucky a couple times on the web.com tour, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I feel like I'm up and comer, and our personality, I don't even know him. Our personalities like get along great. Who don't I get along with? And he goes, oh no, thanks. I really appreciate it, man. But I got my buddy's going to come and caddy for me. So I cornered Streelman in the bathroom once, tried to get his bag.
Wow, good for you.
What was your story?
You gave a solid sales pitch. Now, we'll have to get into it at some point. Maybe we can even have him on at some point. I'll talk to the guys over there. But he had quite the journey to get onto the tour, to where you wouldn't believe it, but riding around in a minivan and everything, and going from, I mean, he didn't have two dimes to rub together. And that's why, I mean, as he went through his career and everything, I mean, it's that's what the PGA Tour needs to promote and needs to get out there. But a story like that to be on something like Full Swing, the Netflix show, that would be a great story that really shows what the PGA Tour is all about. And I know it's been talked about a little bit here and there as to some of the episodes and everything on there. I mean, I even heard on the Fire Pit Collective, one of the guys were talking about the fact that after the first episode, he wouldn't watch the rest because he values his time too much. And after the first episode, he thought it was crap. So
yeah,
that's
the first episode would have made you think that.
Yeah, Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, because everybody already knows all that. So stories.
There was only 3 good episodes. The 3 good episodes were the B guys, right? Joel Damon, Spieth, Theegala, and I don't want to say those guys are great golfers, but B guys, and well, Tony Finau is an A guy, but they're real guys with family, with real shit, and you see their real life, right? You don't see the $20 million fucking pad, and and
flying around on a private jet and just living the dream.
Everything that goes with that, the chick, the wife or whatever, the closets, the cars, they're not there. They're not tainted like that, I guess, so to speak. I'm gonna finish my leaderboard rundown. Want me to?
1 second. I have a question for you since we were talking about Jordan Spieth. Now, this is from a fan request, Tony Spertolozzi. He asked the question, did Jordan Spieth miss that putt on purpose?
No. What the fuck? I almost fell out of my chair when I was reading your show notes, and I'm like, Matt is high as shit right now. Where did that come from? That's so high right now.
It's funny. I knew exactly how you were going to answer it, and we did not talk about it off air, but Tony's going to die laughing because I told him exactly how you would respond to that. Now, could it be a touch of class? Who knows?
It's worth a lot. It's worth a lot of money, and he's a fucking fierce. Is there more of a fierce competitor on the PGA Tour than Jordan Spieth? Honestly, name one. John
No,
Rahm.
and I did point out that during Jordan Spieth's struggles, you'll
Yeah.
notice with his putting, he missed a lot of short putts.
Yeah,
I just think it reared its ugly
well, he
head.
does. We're so he's been missing short putts for a while. He said, didn't he miss the like 14 incher on at Hilton Head or something? And he actually ended up winning because somebody didn't make a par or something on the last hole. I think that was.
Oh gosh, you're jogging my memory there. Was that last year?
Yes, yeah, some tiny little putt on the last hole at Hilton Head and still hung on and won. Okay, tied for sixth. I mean, solo six. Sam Burns 5 under. Hasn't been playing well, but he is the king of Valspar with 2 previous wins. And then we had a 3-way T7, Matt Wallace. I can't really talk about him because I know you have a whole chapter on him that you want to discuss tonight, and I got some good stuff to add to it. Cody Gribble finished
Who
seventh.
the hell is Cody Gribble?
So he's a lefty that played at the University of Texas. He was on tour for a couple of years. He wasn't your star Texas guy, but he made it to the tour. He was making a nice living, and then he fucking lost it. He lost everything. He lost his swing. He couldn't drive it on the planet. Caddies were gambling against him on a weekly basis and making tons of money before we could not gamble on golf anymore. And I had to sign my life away and watch a tutorial video. Thank you, PGA Tour.
Does that count penny bets against your co-host?
I don't got a letter, and Troy hasn't either, so that's a good thing. I wish they'd take me out of my pain right now, though. Cody Gribble is back, T7, but the T7 I want to touch on is Webb Simpson, because you know him and his caddy. Did you read? Paul Tesori have split ways on Sunday night after 12 years, which I believe is the longest, one of the, if not the longest, running relationship.
That's a divorce.
What a shock that is, because I can tell you that they were like brothers. Like Paulie was a caddy before that with the drinking and the foosball and staying out late at night. And then Webb came into his life and everything changed. You know what I mean? He found church. He found other ways to spend his time. He got married. He had a son. He's preaches the good word. He's always positive. He is like a, unofficial leader of the caddies, so to speak. He speaks for a lot of us, and he's just a great guy. But I'm not surprised that he went to Cameron Young. What I'm surprised about with the Cameron Young thing is because it was obviously internally set up, because Cameron Young has the same agent as Webb. Okay. And I know Paulie doesn't really like agents. We've had talks about certain agents before. So I'm not saying he doesn't like that agent. So when this Cam Young fired his buddy, that is Chad Reynolds, who Paulie is replacing right now, is Paulie's best friend. And Paulie got him the bag, and now Paulie's coming in behind him. So I'm thinking that this thing was set up. Like maybe could Bobby Brown conspiracy theory? Like Paulie knows that Webb, ever since the greens books are gone, Webb is not putting good. Ever since the greens books are gone, think about it. Sungjae's not really putting that great. Even though he had a fantastic players, he still missed some putts late that he probably should have made. So I thought that maybe maybe Paulie told Chad, say, hey, listen, this is probably could be my future bag here, depending on Webb's career and if Webb is going to fit into more Ryder Cup roles, you know what I mean, coaching wise, and possibly I would imagine Webb Simpson could possibly he's that well liked, a Ryder Cup captain at some point. So maybe things are changing and this was pre-set up, but I didn't have the heart. I'm pretty close with Chad Reynolds, and I didn't have the heart to text him like a day or 2 days after it all hits the wire and everything like that. But maybe I'll get some more information on that, because me and Chad are buddies, and he's just a good caddy, and there had to be something funky had to happen there.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Justin Thomas, the weight of the world on his back. Don't you think that like Justin Thomas has this kind of pressure, like everywhere he tees it up, he's like supposed to win? Do you ever think about that with him? That's got to be some kind of pressure. He played good T10. Roy Sabatini made a cut. I think he was the only one that had a cut streak going as long as Troy Merritt.
What was he wearing this week?
There was some pink pants, some red pants. It's so funny. Me and him are boys, but I saw him coming, walking across the chipping green towards me, and I'm like, I'm walking the other way with him. I don't need no small talk from the fucking sweet tart factory over there, or whatever those colors are. Like a fucking giant roll of
sweet tart factory.
It looked like a giant roll of fucking sweet tarts with a fucking Panama Jack hat. I don't get where he's got fucking coming from. Davis Riley trending on form was right
You
there
son of a
early
bitch,
in the
you.
week. We'll talk about the penny bet later. Sorry, Charlie. I didn't want to win that one. You know, I didn't want to win that one. I wanted to win the other ones, are the ones I wanted to win, because I wanted Pearson Cootie to play good. And the kid we've been talking about from North Carolina, kind of to wrap it up, but not really, because a couple miscuts guys I want to talk about. Ryan Gerard made the cut, had to par the last hole
Your
to
boy.
make the cut after doubling 16 or 17. And he got his 2 points, and he has special temporary membership, and he is in. You want to know something? If we're going to do a Punta Cana bet, you're going to have to read the whole field to me, because other than Ryan Gerard, I really don't know who's playing, and I really don't give a fuck, because it's match play week.
Just go to all old golfers that
John
are
Rawls
still technically on tour, but have not played well over the past.
MCs. It was a tragic week for Pearson Cootie, who was grinding his balls off all week long.
You hate to see it, Bobby.
They missed the cut by one shot. They bogeyed the ninth hole. They fucking bogeyed the last. I look at his shot tracker. Of course I did. He fucking hit it in the rough. It looked like he hit it on the fringe, because what is on shot tracker? I should know this 20 years later. When it says, when it says, what does it say when the ball's on the fringe? That's not primary rough, right? That's called something else. What's it called? Do you know the word?
I think it's called fringe.
Oh, is it?
I think it is.
Whatever. He's 25 feet from the hole. He ran it by like 9 feet or something.
The only reason I know this is because I watched Troy on the tour cast every week.
All right. Am I the only one that calls the fringe the collar? Isn't the collar the fringe?
Actually, I like the collar better than the fringe.
Yeah, call. Yeah.
Can we
fringe shit come
we
up?
need you on PGA Tour Live so that you can start dropping in those
there it is.
Those little gems.
Take me out of my caddy plane, 7 cuts in a row. Take me out. Somebody hire me. I'm way better than Christina Kim. I'll tell you that much. It's not even fucking close. I know what I'm talking about. So they bogeyed the last hole. They missed by a shot, but they bogeyed 2 holes before that. They bogeyed 2 of the last 3. So he must have been bent. And our guy that we jumped on the bandwagon, both me and you, is off form right now, and he's playing in the match play. The lefty hooker himself, Brian Harmon, is off form right now.
Ever since I picked him, he has been just absolute trash out there. Sorry, Brian.
Valspar rundown, Bobby B out. Everybody else doesn't matter.
No, let's talk a little bit about the Matt Wallace and Caddy Sam Bernard getting after it against each other.
He's so fucking nice to Frenchie. He's like, hey, baby, how are you this morning? You look wonderful. Where do you get those tennis shoes? I'm like, where'd you get those Nikes? He goes, I get them in Dubai. I'm like, oh, Dubai. I have a place there. Okay, fucking hit it, Frenchie.
He's got the full hair. He's got the visor on out there. He was rocking the Valspar Championship visor. And him and Wallace got into it.
I know. I saw the video. That is no surprise for Matt Wallace. He's the biggest hothead on the PGA Tour. And I like Matt, and I talk to him all the time. And I told you that story at Minnesota last year when he was throwing all these shots away late. And I'm like, I feel so bad for his caddy. I got to say something when I was cleaning his ball. And I'm like, what the I can't remember what I said, but I'm like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Slow down or something like that. We were not playing good, so I could get away with it. But that he is the biggest hothead out of there. And that caddy of his does a good job. He works hard. He deflects so much shit from Matt because it's never Matt's fault, right? It's always something else that the caddy fucked up. That Minnesota story out there, 16 is like this drivable. They move it up over the weekend. It's a driver. Nobody lays up. It's like 286 front, right? And he made double bogey. He whipped the driver left. And he goes, I remember he throws the club in the bag and he goes, no, you talked me into it. I was never comfortable with his accent. I was never comfortable with it. You know, fucking in the shit, left, automatic bogey or something like that. He ended up making double, you know, but so they just got into it, which is normal with Matt Wallace, but the media, you know, is going to run with something like that. He's like that guy off campus where you're like, hey, let's go have a beer, something like that. And he fucking cracks you up. And then you see the pairings and you're like, God damn it. Motherfucker, not psychopath this week.
Now, Bobby, have you ever had a confrontation with a player like that?
No, I don't think so. I think I got into it Well, I was going to say once, but now that I think about it really good, I think I've gotten into it 2 or 3 times before with Sung Jae back in the day, but it's more one-sided because he doesn't understand when you're firing back at him what you're firing back. It's like you throw out all these fucking great one-liners and you're like, God, I just wasted those on the fucking kimchi man who doesn't even understand what the fuck I'm saying right now. But I've never had it. I've never had it like that. I had it once, a mini session with Eric actually back in the day when he was actually playing good, accusing me of costing him shots or something because I think I said something stupid in my early years when he was over a putt and in the afternoon, and I'd watched Jim Furyk in the morning run the putt by like 18 feet. So he was having me read the putt, and I'm like, are you good on speed? Or so I said something like that. You good on speed? Thinking it was lightning fast. And he's like, yeah, I'm good on speed. And he left like 6 feet short, and he goes, I know what you were saying. Yeah, that's right. You're costing me fucking shots. I'm like, chill the fuck out, man. I probably shouldn't have said it. Guilty. What do you want to do now? Punch me? Martha to carry your bag?
He shouldn't have said he was good on speed.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently you weren't. You left it 6 feet short. I'd hammer that thing 6 feet by. At least you see the break when it goes by. Old story. So I've never really had that happen too many times. I'm fucking fortunate. You know, I've had guys pull up their phones on Fridays looking for flights and shit, but nobody ever really yelled at me bad.
You've had quite a few of those
Yeah.
recently. Anyways,
no, we're smarter than that. We've already made our Friday flights, and we checked out of our hotels on Fridays too. If you make the cut, I'll just find a hotel. It's no big deal.
Airbnb is a hell of a thing.
Don't think I'm not lying. Don't laugh.
But Bobby, do you have the hotel app that you book it at the last second and you get those great deals on the hotels? I'm gonna have to share this with you off
Did I tell you about did we talk Tuesday night about the James Hahn Airbnb disaster?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that one was phenomenal.
No.
But no, there's an app that you can book at the last minute. I'll share it with you. I used to use it all the time when I was traveling in business. Nope. I'll share it with you. You gotta keep it on the DL because otherwise, if it blows up, everybody's gonna use it. So,
bro, I'm a Priceline expert, bro. I look at it every hour on the hour. I know what's happening.
Remember when you could bid on hotel rooms? And William Shatner was doing the commercials?
I was the master at that. Now they've transitioned that. Now they were probably losing their ass. Now they give you the express deals, right?
Yeah.
The express deals where it doesn't take a genius to figure out what hotel it is. All you have to do is look at basically the star, the location, and exactly how many reviews, and you can nail it exactly to what you're going to get. But the good news is if you book with the express deal, as soon as you check out within 48 hours later, they send you a 10% off express deal thing again.
You gotta love the 10% off.
Yeah, we always love that discount, but they kind of sucker you into that because they know when you're going to use that coupon, they pump their fees up next to like taxes and shit. And you're like, wait, how come it's like this regular price and on express deals this, and I get 10% off and I'm only saving $6? I don't fucking get it.
That's true.
Anyway,
that's true.
What else you got,
Bobby?
Matt?
Why don't you tell me about this penny bet that we had?
Oh yeah, which one? Well, you're the genius that took Pearson Cootie, who I was going to pick anyways. And just to make it interesting, I took Davis Riley, who
he won.
Who lost that playoff last year. But I thought it would be funny because Daniel used to work for Davis Riley, and you took Pearson Cootie, so I did not want to win that bet. But the best bets to talk about are the ones that are coming up towards the end of the show.
The golf bet or the golf picks, but louder.
Golf picks, but louder. Yeah, we can't do that this week.
We can't. I know this is really jamming me up, Bobby. I really don't enjoy that we get 1 week and then it's like 3 weeks off with LIV Golf. Right. It's like, come on, man. Let's have a real season where every week we get action. The UFC fixed this. If the UFC can fix it, LIV Golf has got to fix it. Because remember when there used to be like a fight like once every couple months? Well, UFC fixed that with ESPN to where they literally have fights almost every single weekend. LIV Golf, we need the same deal in order to keep that momentum because I'm hyped on LIV Golf right now after the Tucson event. We'll get into it, but
you're only hyped because we figured out the funnest part about fucking LIV Golf is trying to figure out who the worst person,
exactly,
or the worst team is. That's the fun part. We don't even give a fucking
blast. It's absolutely epic.
Who's smarter? I'm picking terrible players. You would think I would never lose that.
There's a strategy there.
I know.
Now, let's move
Okay, go ahead.
into. So obviously, Bobby wins the main penny bet last week.
Main penny bet.
So Davis Riley takes out Pearson Cootie, which leads us into the upcoming World Golf Championships
Yeah.
Dell Technologies match play.
Yeah.
Bobby, why don't you give us an analysis of Austin Country Club?
I'm going to give you an analysis of everything, but it's funny, I was scrolling down the brackets and that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to get 3 or 4 matches to talk about that are kind of fucking interesting matches to me. Do you want to know something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's some fucking matches tomorrow. I got 16 matches that I think that could go either way with some. I don't know. It's hard to explain. There's just 16 matches. I'm like, oh fuck, that's a good match. That's a good match.
Yeah.
But I'll back you up to that golf course behind you. I've been there a bunch. I never really had a ton of success. I think I'm gonna say Siwoo made it one year to the Sweet 16 and got knocked out by Justin Thomas, I think, on Saturday morning, which was a good match. But I've had some drama, I've had some drama there. That course right there, Austin Country Club, is an unbelievable match play course because things can flip on any hole, and that backside there is just, it's phenomenal.
And it's the last year for it.
And it's the last year. But I think I'm going to put an asterisk on that because I had this sneaky suspicion. I've never heard anything about it, but I got a gut feeling that maybe they're going to add a match play into somebody's date and make it an elevated event in the future. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be sick.
Think about it. They talk about how many players are going to be in these elevated events. 50 automatically qualify, and there's 10 more that can get in. So that's 60. So they would only have to move it up by 4 people to get to. That could be a possibility. That's what I think. And
that would be awesome.
Can I tell you something? Them saying they're getting rid of the match play almost makes me a little bit sad because that's like a cool tournament. That's like the coolest tournament of the year. It's cool for a couple reasons.
No,
it's cool
I don't know if they're getting rid of the match play, but Austin Country Club said we're not doing it anymore.
No, there's no more WGCs, period. This is the last year.
Period. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, period. So this is the last time there's going to be a WGC event. And I think there's reasons for that now because it seems like all these purses are so huge. Because you remember when we first started getting these WGCs, you'd be like, holy fuck, the purse is you go to Shanghai, the purse is $8 million. Yeah. No cut, it's
Tiger used to just freaking dominate them like he did the majors.
Dustin did too. Dustin dominated it. Shit, half of Dustin's winning are probably WGCs, I would imagine. I should know that. I'm sure half of them are WGCs. But it's a great golf course. It's a great match play golf course. I've been watching on TV, kind of like the interviews and stuff like that. The weather, I didn't see what it's like tomorrow, but it's been kind of cold and rainy there, kind of cold and misty. So it is. Okay, first of all, when the year starts as a caddy or a player, you're like, one of the goals that you have is to make the match play because that's top 64 in the world, right? But when these LIV guys bailed, when Troy was floating around the high 80s or low 90s, we were having discussions that this world ranking could go to the mid to high 70s or something like that. And when you scroll down this field, it sure as fuck didn't it? I mean, it went way down there. There's rookies playing in there. I was shocked to see that Ben Griffin's actually in a match. And most people would go, who's Ben Griffin? But if you've been watching this year, he's a rookie that's been pretty consistent and had his chances and has just not been super comfortable on. I could talk shit on a hit and run right now. I think he's not super comfortable, but I'll leave that person out of it who I'm going to blame. But they probably know who they are. Hey, Mike Caddy. Okay, you want to hear Bobby Brown's intriguing matches?
Yeah.
There's 16 of them. This is going to be fucking 3 hours, this show. Wait for this. Okay, here's the first one that caught my eye. Spieth, Theegala, and Minwoo Lee. Oh my God, we could do 20,000 pennies worth of bets here.
Do you want to go match by match and have 20,000 pennies?
No, the last thing I want to do is wake up Monday morning and have to send you a fucking.
No, let's just go. And I would call you on that if we ended up doing 20,000 pennies and I ended up winning it all.
Yeah,
I would call you on that. I'd say, Bobby, it's time to send me a Venmo.
Hey, well, let me just tell you,
I need the money.
Time for you to get my routing number and account number. Hey, listen. Okay, so here's some good matches who would you think between Spieth, Theegala, and Minwoo Lee? Who would be the favorite in that?
Spieth.
You think so? Because Minwoo went deep in this thing last year, I think. I don't know exactly how, but I think he went deep. So I thought that would be a good one. I think Xander is going to have his hands full with Cam Davis for some reason. I think Cam Davis is a great ball striker. He didn't play great at the President's Cup. He got a little experience. am I the only one that thinks Rory McIlroy is going to have a good match with Scott Stallings? Scott Stallings has been playing great all year and lives and dies
He's
by
a
the
Texas
putter.
guy too, isn't
Yeah.
he?
No, Tennessee. He's a Tennessee guy.
Is
Yeah.
he?
Yeah, he's a Tennessee guy, Scott
I don't know
Stallings.
why I thought he was a Texas guy.
Keegan Bradley's got to play the best putter on the PGA Tour, Denny McCarthy, who's been nothing but a gem of consistency all year.
I'm going Denny McCarthy there.
Yeah. You like that one, don't you?
I do.
Here's one. Here's a good one. Nobody knows who this is. Kurt Kitayama, Bobby's breakout player of the year, by the way. Wink, wink.
Name of an episode.
This guy that I like, this Adrian Moronk, the big 6'6" dude that I was telling you about. He snuck in. He's in the top 50. I think that'll be a good one. Let's see how Cam Young and Paul Tesori do against that young kid that's going to be a superstar, Davis Thompson. I think that's a good match. Let's talk about the featured match. John Rahm and Ricky Fowler, right? That's the featured match for sure.
Let's go, Ricky.
Yeah. Jordan Spieth is facing a bulldog. Mackenzie Hughes is a bulldog. Listen to this. I think Max Homa's in trouble against Justin Sue.
Oh, go fuck yourself, Bobby. There's no chance.
Let's bet 1,000 pennies. You can have Max Homa.
I got Homa. Yep.
Yeah.
See how I baited you into that one?
Fucking early Christmas present.
Yeah, buddy. That's
but 1,000 Justin pennies. Justin has been good. He can overpower this golf course. Yeah, that's 1,000 pennies. Oh man, isn't this going to be great shit talking if Justin Suh pulls off the upset against Max Homa?
Listen,
you know what? Another
you've got about
Hideki against what?
You've got about a 1% chance. 1% chance that Justin Sue wins.
Well, then I should have said I need to get a 2-1.
Nope. Too late for that.
I win 2,000 pennies. I'm too late for that. So Hideki and Kiz, I think that's a featured match. I think Scotty Scheffler is the king, but he plays Seamus Power. I'm a big Seamus Power fan. I think that'll be good.
Scotty
Here's another upset.
There.
What about no, I'm not fucking doing 2 stupid bets in a row. No way. But I'm going to do this stupid bet if you want a piece of this. I love Victor Perez over Colin Morikawa.
Oh, I'm taking Colin Morikawa all day. That's another stupid bet of yours.
I watched Victor Perez dismantle Sungjae there a few years back, and I was impressed with this fucking thoroughbred. And I know he's playing good, really good right now. He just caught a dub a few weeks ago. Come on, Victor. Siwoo and Chris Kirk, that's a good match.
Oh, Siwoo, baby.
Yeah, Sungjae and Matt McNeely. Tucky, you brought up Butch Harmon. Maverick McNeely fired Butch Harmon 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and went to Scott Hamilton, who's a pretty popular guy out here. And I was sitting down with Maverick's caddy having breakfast last week, and he was telling me the story and that kind of stuff. And he's like, I think fucking Mav's gonna play good. Scott Hamilton saw something, and and he striped it on Tuesday and he striped it on Wednesday. I think he was 4 or 5 under on after the first day. He backpedaled though pretty good. He made the cut, but he was right around the lead. Seamus. Oh, I got it wrong. Seamus Power is actually against. I wrote Scotty down. He's against Adam Scott.
Oh, that'll be a good matchup.
Because here's another good match. Scotty Scheffler and Davis Riley. There's 2 Texas boys. I want to do it.
You want?
That's stupid.
Oh
no. But I'm going to give you one last opportunity on Bobby Brown's 16th featured match. Tom Kim and my boy Alex Noren.
I'm taking Tommy Kim, boy? Baby. Let's go, Tommy Kim. I love me some Tommy Kim. So wait, we got 3,000 penny bets out there right now.
Yes. Yeah. I got Justin Suh, you got Max Homa. I got Victor Perez, you got Colin Morikawa. I got Alex Noren, and you have Tom Kim. If I went to Vegas and bet $100 parlay on my 3 guys at their odds, I would be driving out of there in a Brinks truck if they won with those huge odds. So I could be just giving money away. Fucking Brinks truck, back it up. Beep, beep, beep.
Thank goodness you signed your life away to the tour.
You ain't kidding. What else is next?
Wow. So I think the penny bets are solid there. We're just gonna go with the day one penny bets on that. Well, we've got also, because it is the last WGC event. Is it the last WGC event this year? No.
I just said that twice. Yes.
God damn it. Because of that, we have a secondary PGA Tour event, which is the upcoming Corrales Punta Cana Championship. Bobby, have you ever been down there in Punta Cana?
No. They're really
So
playing?
Bobby's not going to have too much to share with us on a course analysis down there.
No.
You know, you got a lot of guys like Aaron Baddeley. You've got other guys like probably, I think Sabatini's playing. I think there's quite a few of the older guys. I went through the list earlier today and was just looking at a lot of the names, and it's a lot of guys from the past, right? A lot of guys that are no longer playing up to snuff, but yet they need an event, they need points, they need to continue, which is why I like these
It's
events.
mostly Corn Ferry Tour guy. You know, it's 48 or 50 Corn Ferry Tour guys, and it's all the 126 to 150
Oh, you
category.
got Akshay Bhatia. You've
Yes,
got
Ryan Gerard's playing, who just got special temporary.
yep.
And then it goes.
Is Pearson playing? Cootie?
No. They're actually the Corn Ferry Tour is actually a couple hours away in Savannah this week. So he's playing in Savannah this week. He's back to the Corn Ferry Tour, but he's close to getting special temporary. So they are accepting a spot into San Antonio the week back on the big tour. So I think they're flip-flopping right now.
That's great.
He goes through all of his exemptions. I think he's getting one in Charlotte, Daniel said, and he's also getting one in Dallas at the Byron
That's
Nelson.
awesome.
He's going to be able to
hot off the press, folks. Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. So the Corn Ferry Tour is in Savannah. He's not playing. But I was going to tell you, they even go to this category outside of 150 on the FedEx Cup points last year, where guys like Sam Moon Bay or something like that get in. So, but my point is,
isn't it Sung Moon Bay? Is it Sang Moon Bay?
It's Sang.
Is it Sang or Sung?
Well, I talk to his agent all the time. I think it's Sang. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to bet on Cana, bro.
Can we bet on his name, Sung versus Sang, for 1,000 pennies?
You'll know.
Oh,
it's
never
Sang
mind.
Moon Bay, bro. I've been paired with him numerous times.
I got you thinking though. You started doubting yourself there. See how that works? Now, if you were to throw out a name, we don't have to bet on the Punta Cana because originally I thought we would throw out a penny bet, but I didn't realize we were going to go 3,000 penny bets on the match play. So I think we're good there.
Right.
You good there?
Yeah, I'm good there, bro.
Okay.
We got plenty to root for.
That's our analysis on the it is quick and fast for the upcoming Corrales Punta Cana Championships, okay? Fast and loose.
No disrespect to my fellow caddies that are there, sorry.
Yeah, no. And by the way, Joel Damon won that tournament, remember?
Yeah,
that was his first tour win in a long well, that was his first one, wasn't it?
First and only. Yeah,
there we go.
Only. Yeah, first and only.
Shit's coming back to me after that toad poison experience. So
are we on to our favorite part of the show?
Almost, Bobby, because I've got a little golf league concept for you. Okay. And this is where I think LIV Golf went a little bit too overboard with some of their stuff, with how they're structured at the time being. And this is more from a league standpoint and from a concept. So here's my biggest take. Everybody talks about the fact that golf takes too long, right? Now, LIV Golf has kind of shortened that with the shotgun starts, because when you look at everybody's time, everybody has so much stuff that they can do nowadays, so much media to consume because of the internet. Like, you can spend time on TikTok, Instagram, like social media pages. You can watch movies on Netflix. Like, you can binge watch TV shows. There's so much that you can do. There's so many different sporting events and everything going on over the weekends. So everybody talks about how, 4.5 to 5 hours to spend watching something is a long stretch of time. It's too much time to give to something, right? Now, with that, even LIV Golf with their shotgun starts is still around 4.5 to 5 hours. Golf broadcasts, if you watch on the Golf Channel on the PGA Tour, and then you watch the rest of it on the main broadcast, you're spending about 7-8 hours watching golf, right? So it's tough as somebody who watches it in order to break it down on a weekly basis with you. You're out there, so you're seeing it kind of firsthand, and then you're kind of watching it afterwards, where I'm watching that entire damn thing. Now, the new concept that I have would only take less than 3 hours for 18 holes. I'm not talking about a simulator league like they're talking about doing with the Tiger Golf League deal. But think about it this way. what if each team, so you take a live type of concept where you have teams and you base them regionally throughout the country. Now, with that, you got teams of 4, and maybe you have a bench player, right? Because we talked about maybe you have a couple guys on the bench that you can cycle through. One guy's playing better than another guy. You can bring him in, but you create a season, an actual season to where you've got head-to-head matchups, and each team has their own course. But we're not talking about, because with the rollback of the golf ball and everything, it's all about guys hitting it too far. They get too much of an advantage. What if it's on a par 3 course? What if we go back to accuracy, just like in the old days, accuracy, short game, putting, and these courses that are for each of the teams, they can structure them to what fits and benefits their squad. So just like in baseball, each stadium is a little bit different. Teams build their roster based off of how the stadium is set up. Yankee Stadium, for example, right field, really short. So you want a lefty that's going to hit a lot of pop flies out to right field because it's got a chance of going out of the ballpark. Boston Red Sox, a little bit different. You got left field with the monster, hit a high pop fly. So granted, you've got these different aspects. So if all of a sudden one course has really undulating greens because guys have tremendous short games, think of guys like Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson. If you had those, and then you set it up to where each of those golf courses have lights, now you can get into prime time because you can have these matches take place at night. And each one is a match play event. So it's head to head, team versus team, rather than doing it tournament style. Because tournament style, you're really still stuck in the individual game. That, okay, we're going to have a tournament, top guy's going to win all this boatload of money. And LIV Golf can talk about the team aspect as much as they humanly want. But when you've got the high flyers in first place heading into the final round, and then all of a sudden dropping down to like 6th place or something like that, and the Ironheads going from like last place all the way up to 3rd, like these are things that you can't really buy into that team event and aspect to it, right? But you do a full season, and then you have a traditional playoffs to where you take the top teams, and then you have them actually play to a champion. But it's that head-to-head feel of match play, and you can get it done in less than 3 hours. It can be a prime time event.
Yeah. You want to know what I liked about what you said about all that?
Yeah.
Under the lights part.
Yeah.
That's catchy, isn't it?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be freaking great? And then you've got, and it could be the last hole, for instance, of each of these golf courses that's set up like a stadium, just like TPC Scottsdale 16. At first, I thought every hole could be kind of set up that way, but that would be a lot of property to cover, and it would be tough for the fans to get in and out. But think of 18 as you're coming down, you've got this stadium set up, and you've bought your seats, right? So you go in, you're watching that final hole, the match is all coming into play. Anyways. Long story short, investors call me because this concept could take off.
I wonder if the brass sneaky years in Ponte Vedra at the PGA Tour, I mean, I'm sure there's been discussions, there has to have been discussions about a future team concept on the PGA Tour or something years from now or something like that, or let's watch and see how it goes with LIV. I don't know. I think you have a good idea, but the under the lights part's got me for sure. So
the one thing that I would say that everybody I feel like would have the same feel until they see it is about it being a par 3 short course. Because it's like, there's no excitement behind it. Like, who loves playing? But when you play Mountain Shadows week in and week out, and you've also got par 3 course called 7 up at Desert Mountain, which, by the way, might be the best golf course up there. It's a par 3 course. And the greens are so cool and undulating that you see these shots like Tiger at Augusta on 16 hitting that shot to the side and then having it trickle down. And that turned into one of the most iconic moments. I mean, those are shots that you would get on here. And granted, it would be quick, right? So you would constantly be seeing shot after shot after shot. But I also think having that home field or home course advantage is huge,
Yeah.
and that's something you don't get right now. So that leads us right into, once again, investors call me, into LIV
Yes,
Golf
Colin.
Tucson recap. So we had journeyman Danny Lee changes his life with a lot
The
of fucking
quitter.
money.
We call him the quitter out there. I think he was already rich, to tell you the truth. He had some
Really?
good, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you remember he won I'm going to say he won the Johnny Walker in Europe used to be a huge tournament back in the day, like a huge tournament, like almost like one of their off the record majors. And I want to say he was like 17 when he won it. So he is, he's had some good years. He's had some good years. I think he's Asian. He's got money, I know on social media he's always showing pictures of his Porsche and that kind of stuff. I can tell you one thing, he probably, until that last pot went in, he probably didn't have as much money as he does now. But my point is I always heard stories in the sneaky background okay, so he's from South Africa, supposedly, but he's actually
New
Korean, right?
Zealand.
He's New Zealand, excuse
Yep.
me. He's actually Korean. And I think the deal is they got him out of there when they knew he was going to be a world-class player at a young age.
That's right. You
To
shared
avoid
that before.
the whole
It,
Korean military
yeah.
thing is what I think the deal is on something like that. But I've also heard stories that like the dad just bled him dry, right? Finances, like he's supporting the whole family and that kind of stuff. The dad was running the money. He didn't have any control. I don't know the gory details, but I heard they ended up being gory, but he just buried something from, I didn't, I haven't even thought about watching any LIV Golf on TV. That's your department. But I did see on Twitter or somewhere on social media, I did catch a replay of him burying that thing from off the green. It didn't look like he had a good shot in there, that's for sure. It looked like he just kind of fluked one in. The next thing you know, he's taking home $4 million. Do you know that I want to say that I read that Danny Lee in the last 3 years, was it 2 years or 3 years out here? So irrelevant that he either WD'd, we call him the quitter out here. He either WD'd or he missed the cut like 32 out of 47 tournaments and had possibly one top 10 in the last 5 years in full fit, not considering opposite field events like Punta Cana or something like that.
Oof.
So it got really, really stinky for him, really, really stinky. And I've always liked Danny, honestly, for some reason. He's crazy, he's goofy, you know what I mean? You just never know what he's thinking. And he kind of fucked himself. He went down that George Gankis route when it was hot for a couple months there to try and get speed. And the same thing that's fucked up Sung Kang, and the same thing that's probably fucked up Matt Wolff too, is this game. I mean, Gankis is not really a good teacher, is what I'm going to say. He teaches things that just don't make really any sense, and it's all about hitting at 330 or 340. So Danny's kind of turned into a bomber there for a while, and he was always bragging when we play practice rounds with the Koreans about how far he could hit it and that kind of stuff, and he made on these ungodly recoils. But he just made $4 million, and it's funny, we were laughing that, well, this is where LIV's at. They got to get Steely and Danny Lee, right? And one of them wins. And both of them were in the playoff, actually. Steely was in that playoff. It was a four-man playoff. Danny Lee, Steely, Carlos Oosthuizen, and Carlos Ortiz. So, I mean...
And did you watch it though? Like
No,
it
I didn't watch any of it.
Well, that playoff was all struggle city. Nobody was hitting good shots in 18. It was pretty brutal. But I will say this: it is a tough scenario for LIV Golf because they really need their top guys that they signed to millions of dollars to be at the top of these leaderboards, and they're not playing well. And then you've got guys like, Charles Howell III. I mean, some would call him a journeyman at this point, especially at this point in his career. Danny Lee, another journeyman. Getting guys like that to win, and then you're going up against other journeymen in that playoff. The only one really is Usti, who, like, granted, he was right there, but I just don't think that that's helping the brand and helping them grow.
Can I tell you something? Usti is a ball striker, right? And some guys are going to make the argument that ball strikers that these okay, when you got Bryson finishing 44th, Koepka 29th, Okay, DJ, you beat me out 1,000 pennies. DJ
Hang
finished
on, we'll get to the penny
13.
bets.
Yeah, I know, but my point is that Dustin John, I told you he was going to have trouble at that course, and I was right. I was right for almost 52 holes, but he birdied the last two to squeak in. But you know, I was popping off. But you will say that these last two courses, are ball striker courses. But getting back to Louis been super consistent on the PGA Tour. He's a awesome player, but he's never won on the PGA Tour, right? Any PGA Tour sanction of any one would have been the British Open way back when in 2010 or something like that. Carlos Ortiz hits a good. Steely's a ball striker, right? Steely's a phenomenal iron player, he's a phenomenal ball striker, but these guys got to step it up. I mean, Charles Howell's playing phenomenal. He looked like he was going to win, and I think he kind of gave it away late, if I'm not mistaken. I read. Scott McGinnis, good for him. Mito finished sixth. That's got to be a hell of a payday. That's got to be 700 grand. So good for him. Kevin Na showing little signs of life, finished eighth. Big deal. I mean, he's I was reading something where he said, I got a shit ton of money and they're giving out a shit ton of money here. Yep. So, you know, Uline continued good play, finished 10th. DJ backdoor T13 by birdieing the last tee holes. Other than that, he was going to finish outside the top 20. I mean, Bubba Watson, 23rd, Patrick Reed, 18th. Like I said, Koepka, lefty, 32nd. Kokrak, 38th. I want to bring up Kokrak, and I'm going to group all of these guys into a group for you. When you get paid that much fucking money up front, Matt, how hard are you going to practice?
That's the
how
thing.
hard are you going to practice?
The only guy who's practicing really, really hard, and I heard this on the Fire Pit Collective with Alan
Charles
Shipnuck.
Howell?
No, is Bryson. Bryson,
well,
and Alan's saying that there's something wrong with Bryson, but nobody's saying it. Nobody is coming out and saying what's going on with him.
Nobody ever, but when he was on the PGA Tour, nobody practiced harder than Bryson too. But we always thought it was eccentric, the word I want to use. It was crazy practice, right? He was doing crazy practice for no rhyme or no reason.
Very eccentric. You're right.
Trying to explore this or explore that and that kind of stuff instead of practicing on possibly things that need to get better. You know what I mean? It was always speed or this or that kind of stuff. So I believe it. Hey, listen, nobody's ever going to tell me that I don't care how much money Charles Howell got. He's always been a workaholic. You know, those Latinos work hard on their game. I'm sure Carlos Ortiz is a super hard worker. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying the majority of those big names that they threw out, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars to. I don't care if Dustin Johnson has never seen Mayakoba or doesn't like that Arizona course or whatever. He's still Dustin Johnson, right? And you can't possibly tell me that he's getting after 5 or 6 days a week like he used to when he was the man on
Bobby,
the
I told you he's packed on some pounds, man. Like he's got a stomach right now. He looks big in that golf shirt. And
good life.
I also have to put foot in mouth here. Yeah, God damn it, Pat Perez. You got me this week. You've shot 5 under. You actually played pretty good.
He finished third. Yeah, he finished 13th. So I got a theory on that motherfucker because as far as I think he's a motherfucker. But here's my theory because we'll talk about it a little bit later. But we already know that these they're not getting the team money, right? 75. LIV owns 75% of the teams, right? And then Dustin, the captains. And then everybody else gets 25. Everybody else gets 25%. Perez probably thought in the offseason, holy fuck, I'm fucked. I got to work on my game because I'm not going to make $8 million. I'm not going to mooch the team money anymore and make one putt in Miami and tell the world that I held, you know, my end of the bargain when 9 other events, you know, you couldn't find me with a fucking search warrant. So maybe he's got a renewed faith in practicing.
Oh, you know what he found, Bobby? He found Peloton.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no. He said, I don't lift weights. I don't do this. I don't do that.
So yeah.
He goes, but I got a Peloton and I just sit there and the screen's on and I just race.
Yeah. Everybody did that during the COVID, Pat. Nobody does that anymore, dude. I don't know if you got the fucking memo or not. That's when all the Peloton shit was going on. Whatever. He likes to talk. Let's be honest. Let's go on a little Perez rant. No, he's the most thin-skinned individual God has ever made. He's a disher, but he ain't a taker.
He can't take it.
And his
he
card
cannot take it.
His only answer to he
freaked out.
Yeah, his only answer to anybody is how rich he is, right? That's his only defense. That's the only way he can really one up everybody. But he sure ain't one up in those guys saying that in that locker room that he strolls through every day with 40 some other guys. He might be richer than about 8 of them, that's for sure. So he's probably playing hard. He's probably playing harder. But these are courses that he would play good on, right? You start taking him to bigger ballparks, and then maybe the DJs and those kind of thoroughbred players are gonna show
Well, I'm
their
proud of him for showing up and shooting a
yeah
5 under, good for him.
yeah
That's where I listen with all the bad blood and everything. And
yeah.
I got into a scenario to where had people reach out saying he needed to get in touch with me
Oh
because
yeah.
of the things that were said on the podcast. I just laughed because
Third-
guess what, Pat? If you're listening, you have me blocked and you have Pull Hook Golf blocked. So you can't actually contact me because you have me blocked. I don't have you blocked.
You
So if
think
you
he
need to
really does
chat,
we know who does the blocking in that family, bro.
that it's just so funny because people were like, "Oh, Pat's been trying to get in touch with you." No, he hasn't. So, sure enough, he has me blocked. And yeah, Pat, if you ever need to touch base, give me a call, buddy. I'm right here. So, anyways,
Oh,
um,
yeah,
good on you. I had you as the worst player for last week, and you proved me wrong, which is why we create bulletin board material from time to time. So again, done with my little rant for
so let's
good
go.
old Fatty
You
Pat.
started it. That was one of our penny bets that I throttled you on because I stuck to my guns and with Siwon Kim, who, if you turn the leaderboard upside
You
down,
had a
back to
perfect
back
pick.
weeks on the
Perfect
if
pick.
you turn the leaderboard upside down in Mayakoba and last week in Arizona, Siwon Kim wins by many, many. I think it was 23 over par last week. So I got 1,000 there, but
Well,
I'm going to
it's
tell
our
you,
golf picks, but
yes.
louder recap. Okay,
Oh,
golf
yes.
picks, but louder
Famous
recap.
your famous intro. And
Yeah.
then our other one was me, Dustin Johnson on the top 20 or better, which, let's be honest, day one, he's rolling around 40th, and then he makes a couple birdies and he moves up to like 34th, and then he's laying fucking sod out there and he's tied for 21st. You knew what happened on Sunday, and then he birdies the last two to leapfrog and get you a win.
You're welcome.
And I lost the worst team bet because somehow Kevin Na's team finished second with Siwon Kim.
After the first
Oh, yeah,
day, actually,
yeah.
hang on. I think it was after day 2 that they
After
were
day
in
two,
last place, weren't they?
no, they were never in last place. No, they were never
Okay.
in last place. But who was your team? You're
The High
Mickelson's team,
Flyers.
right?
Oh, we were in first place. We were in first place after 2 days.
You had remember you were talking about how shitty it
Yeah.
is that things switch so much. I thought I was running the tables with Dustin starting the day at T30, and I knew that the Siwon Kim bet could not lose.
Yeah.
And then I looked and then I did scan down the team thing, and I'm like, oh my God, he's got a 6-shot lead on me. I'm not going to lose this. The same scenario that you said when I flipped you at Mayakoba with that team thing. So let me summarize it this. Bobby 2 wins, Matt 2 wins. Bobby's still stuck 5,000 pennies.
Yeah. Well, you got 3,000 more coming up if you actually get your match play, which
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work in your favor, but
I
if
mean,
it does,
all I have to do is win one to talk shit to you.
that's true. That is true. You only need one, and yet I'll just have all the money. But with all of this going on, the teams, and actually, there's one more tagline. So we have our golf picks, but louder, and now there's a new tagline for Live Golf that is TV ratings, but lower,
Oh yeah.
because the TV ratings were horrendous. Might be the worst decision that they made was moving it off of YouTube and going with
Yeah.
the CW,
Yeah.
because I've seen all the tweets and everything, and it's just like, why go down that path? Like, what? Like, was there something that they thought that they were going to get out of this entire deal? Like, did they think that all of a sudden they were going to get advertisers and all this and that, and that they could spin it that the CW was such a big win for them? I think they really thought that. So TV ratings are low. You got journeyman winning. This is not good for Live Golf, but I will say that they had Arizona showed up. Arizona, they
Yeah.
had some good
Well,
crowds out there, which was pretty cool. And
stop
then
it.
I was listening to the Fire Pit Collective with Alan Shipnuck. And one of the reasons why I'm intently listening to that podcast now is because he's writing a book on Live Golf. So he's going to all the Live Golf events. And the first thing that he talked about was the fact that Greg Norman had told him weeks ago that, yeah, we'll talk, we'll meet up, because he wants to interview Greg for this book, right? He wants to make it about the business model and the disruption with the PGA Tour. So it's actually very pro LIV Golf from what he's saying on the podcast. Now, he said Greg Norman has been basically muzzled by his bosses.
I've heard that. Yeah.
To where he's not able to do any media whatsoever. He can't chat with him. And every time that Greg even responds to a message, and he goes, I'm trying to chase him down at the events, and he's constantly on the move because I'm like looking for him. So he says that he keeps saying it's not the right time. Not the right time. I can't meet up. And Alan's offered him fancy dinners. Greg, you can select all the wine that we drink. Like really putting out this sweet offer to him, and just absolutely nothing. And then the other big one that kind of hit me was his co-host on there mentioned that it has a feel of a fly-by-night startup company. And
Right.
Alan actually agreed with that. Now, he said that's not necessarily a negative thing, but it definitely has that feel. Now, if you know the term fly by night, it's basically this company comes out of nowhere and then all of a sudden they go belly up. And it does have that feel. You and I have talked about it with all the executives leaving and everything, but I didn't know that Greg Norman, when he made the Kaskagi comment about how, oh, people make mistakes.
Yeah.
One of the executives left because of that. So that's one of the reasons why they're just putting a big muzzle on Norman, is because every time he says something, they get executives that are leaving, and it's not very good of a situation. I do have a question for you around it. Now, Alan talked about the team concept and how in a microcosm, it's actually working because he saw the Latin fans out there following the Fireballs, and they were all talking in Spanish and everything. So I got to ask you,
Matt, it's Tucson, bro. It's fucking right on the Mexican border. Have you ever been to Tucson? I lived there for 2 years while my ex-wife went to the U of A. It's 90% Latinos. That's what I can say to that.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask you. I was literally going to ask, what do you think of the Latino fans following around as an example of the team concept working? Does it make sense? Does it not?
I think it made sense for the Latinos that week, because it's a Latino based, community for sure. It's 90. Well, I'm packing that number. It's probably not 90%, but it's Latino everywhere down there. And, let's be honest, Latinos are very passionate about their sports, and they're very passionate about their sports figures, and they bring a certain energy they can bring a certain energy to obviously to a stadium, but to a gallery too, and players can feed off of that. And I think that was probably an advantage for that team. Don't you think? I mean, I think that's a huge advantage. They're out there with the, Spain flags or Mexican flags or whatever, and it's like you see them. It's kind of somewhere between a FIFA World Cup and a Ryder Cup, possible Ryder Cup experience with the passion and the flags and everything like that. So I think they obviously played great, but I think they certainly fed off that. But I can't stop thinking about how this team money it's like fucking irrelevant for them now. Right? It is.
And then it's all talked about that the team is going to become even more of the focus and attention. And it's partially because of what we talked about at the first event, which was that they even announced it on air that their entire focus is around franchises and selling these off to investors that are going to become the team owners. Because the players, the main players, like a Dustin Johnson, a Phil Mickelson, they own a small percentage of that team, which makes sense that the money is going to the team. But 75% of that, as you mentioned, is owned by LIV Golf.
Yeah, exactly. Was it today? I read that. Okay, number one, let's get back to Norman. Didn't he say at the end of the year last year that all these teams were going to have owners by this
Yeah.
time, by this season? Okay, false. Nobody really has an owner. I did read that four teams have sponsors lined up, whatever that means. That's very vague. A sponsor, it could be a sleeve deal or something like that. But you know what got me today was when I read that they said, maybe it came from Schenk, that these teams are going to sell for 10 figures. I couldn't even do the math on that. I finally figured it out. Is that $1 billion? 100 million is 9 figures, right?
So 7 figures is $1 million. So
yeah,
10 figures
is $1 billion.
Yeah, it's $1 billion.
Oh my God. What are they smoking?
I'm not a mathematician, but
what are they smoking over there?
I
I
mean,
read it right too. I read it right. 10 figures.
I just don't see it. I don't see anybody being that big of an idiot with that amount of money. I mean, there's only so many. There's only so much oil money out there, right? Jeez,
they had that big player. They had their player meeting last week too, right? Did you read about their player? They had that player meeting, and from the articles, I never talked to anybody, but the articles I read about it, everybody's like, we don't know whether to shit or get off the pot right now. Nobody's really knows what's going on. They're introducing all these new concepts. Nothing's still the same. Did you know that apparently they are, that they are really tightened the spending, right? They're like, they have auditors are going through and auditing everything, checking everything 2 or 3 times with accountants and that kind of stuff as far as team expenses go. And Shipnuck was even talking about how the first year in the media tent, they had these lavish buffets and all that kind of stuff. And now it's back to the same old prepackaged sandwich and that kind of stuff. There was another point I wanted to bring up on that too. Did you hear today that somebody from the LIV, either the broadcast team or the tech team, said that they cut all their benefits? Like insurance benefits and retirement,
I didn't see that.
Something like that. Yeah, Google that one up if you get a chance tonight when that starts really kicking in. They are cutting corners left and right. I also read, and correct me if I'm wrong, that some of these teams have opened up a line of credit or something like that for expenses. Some of these bottom of the barrel teams that aren't making any money or something have opened up a line of credit that has to come due at the end of the year. Check that out too if you can find something. Yeah,
might have to follow up on that next week.
These bottom of the barrel teams that don't do jack shit in the team money, that are just stinking it up and finishing last to next to last every single week. I mean, they're going to eventually have to start paying past the top 3 for team money because they don't, right? Yeah, they don't.
The model. While some areas seem like, for instance, like the regionality of having an all Latin team, right, makes sense. There's others to where like that same concept doesn't work because you've got teams like the Crushers, for instance. And the Crushers are supposed to be these long hitting guys that, that's Bryson's team. But you got a guy like Anaban Lahiri Anaban Lahiri on that team who only hits at about 250 yards.
No, he carries it further than that.
Yeah, but he's not a crusher. He's one of the shorter guys out there.
No, he's one of the shorter guys out there. But everybody, so a short hitter now these days probably carries at 285, 290. That's what you would consider a short hitter, right? In bad conditions, yeah, anybody can hit at 250, but Aniban's a little bit longer than 250, but he's no crusher. What the hell are
exactly.
the range?
But then you've got other teams that are mixed together, so it doesn't exactly work. That's why I look at LIV Golf and it's like there's things that are good about it, and then there's things that just don't make sense. Now, Alan was saying that on his podcast that he felt like the constant changes and everything were being portrayed by guys like Phil Mickelson as, oh, this is good leadership because they're listening to us. Right. But when you have a hodgepodge put together, and they also did mention that they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they didn't mean that in a bad way. It's just like they're trying to figure it out. But it feels like there's too many gaps, too many issues going on with it from a business sense that it's going to be tough to put this thing together and have this be something that goes on for several years. Unless, like I said, the one caveat is with the Saudi money, they can just keep putting money into it. And if they don't care, then to losses,
Well,
then it's just going to keep going
if
on.
they're checking on these expenses and making all these cutbacks, somebody up top is starting to care about where all this money's going and why did we throw. I just think excuse me, that they're like, okay, this is we've overdone it. You know, we're spending too much money. We got to cut the range back a little bit here, a little bit there. So we'll see.
The broadcast though is great. I'll give it that, because you got Faraday on there. I mean, the broadcast has tightened up since last year. Faraday's the best part about it, right? He's got all the one-liners. He's hilarious. And it's fast. It's fast moving for a younger generation. The PGA Tour needs to take some notes, though.
It gets old after a while, though, doesn't it, Faraday? It's the same thing every single week. It was even like that on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, but I will say this.
You can't tell me Jerry Foltz is a good announcer. Come on, man. I think you are.
I'm not. I'm not at all. But
you can't tell me those chicks out on the golf course or the Arlo or whatever are good announcers. They're not. It's all Faraday. It's a one-man show, isn't it?
It is. But when I talk about the broadcast, I'm also talking about them not showing tap-in putts. And there was actually an analysis between how many putts that the PGA Tour shows that are tap-ins versus LIV Golf. And it's a stark contrast. So you get shot after shot after shot with LIV Golf where you don't.
We have 150-man fields, so they got 40 fucking how many?
But you should think that with that many people out in the field playing golf and hitting golf shots, that they should have more ability to switch between shots that are important or just good golf shots than having it be where you're seeing tap-in putts and they're spending way too long of a time trying to build out a storyline that you're just like, this is boring. That's why I used to take naps.
I think TV golf broadcasts probably have a lot of improving to do, right? Maybe they're sitting behind closed doors and they're watching these live broadcasts occasionally. They're bringing new ideas to the table for them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Bobby, I know it's getting late over there, buddy. So we wrapped up a big episode today, and I am grateful for having you stay through it all. And I didn't see one yawn because Bobby's over on the East Coast. I snuck one in when I you snuck it in. See, I was going to give you all this credit for no yawning, but Bobby's over on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, so we've got a three-hour gap. So I'm primed, ready to go. Bobby's about to take a nap. He's fading fast. But Bobby, thank you so much, buddy. My man, and I will see you next week.
You got it, bro. Take care, everybody.
See you, man.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more information.